There is a particular temperament of individuals who never quite feel at home in the clamor of the modern world. They are the quiet observers, those who speak sparingly, preferring to listen. They find themselves captivated by the way light shifts across a room, or the subtle, relentless way time transforms everything it touches. When they pause before answering a question, it is not due to hesitation or a lack of certainty. Rather, it is because they are mentally juggling 10 different possibilities, weighing the nuances of each before settling on the most authentic response. These are the deep thinkers. They are individuals who inhabit their own minds more vividly than they inhabit the physical conversations around them. They possess the rare ability to expand a fleeting moment into an entire universe of contemplation. However, to live this way is far from effortless. Deep thinking is rarely just a byproduct of high intelligence. It is primarily a function of acute sensitivity. To be a deep thinker is to perceive the invisible layers of reality that most people habitually overlook. It is a gift, certainly, but one that carries a significant weight. To truly understand them, one must recognize the constant, flickering tension between the rich, intricate world they harbor within and the hurried world they are forced to navigate outside. While the majority of society views excessive rumination as a path to confusion, for the deep thinker, it is as vital as breathing. It is their primary method of processing existence. They don't just see a tree, they see its ancient dialogue with the soil, its silent yearning toward the sun, and the way its life cycles mirror the fragility of their own. Everything is a metaphor. A casual chat becomes an exploration of the human condition. A silence becomes a profound question. A mere glance evolves into a narrative. In psychological terms, this is often referred to as high-trait introspection. It is a persistent tendency to analyze not only the external environment, but the internal landscape as well. They are perpetually scanning for meaning, asking why, not to be difficult or contrarian, but because for them, clarity is as essential as oxygen. This cognitive habit is linked to the default mode network in the brain, the same region that sparks into life during moments of creativity, imagination, and deep reflection. Consequently, the mind of a deep thinker is a relentless storm of connections, constantly weaving, comparing, and refracting ideas. This very faculty, however, can be profoundly isolating. While others move through life in a state of reaction, deep thinkers are in a state of observation. They take the time to notice the details and construct thoughtful responses, but often, by the time they are ready to speak, the conversation has surged forward, leaving them behind. Thus, they retreat into silence. Inevitably, others mistake this silence for a lack of interest, failing to realize that it is actually a symptom of depth. A deep thinker doesn't just want to talk, they want to reach an understanding. They crave connections that move past the shallows of small talk and dive into the architecture of the human heart, fears, dreams, and the raw mechanics of emotion. Surface-level chatter, to them, is not just boring, it is exhausting. Yet, this depth extracts a toll. It breeds the tendency to overthink, leading them to replay social interactions, dissect every sentence, and agonize over whether they said too much or too little. This is not rooted in insecurity, but in an awareness of nuance. They see that every choice carries a dozen meanings, and every emotion has hidden, tangled roots. Their mind refuses to rest until it unearths the truth of a situation. Deep thinkers also live within the realm of metacognition, the ability to think about their own thinking. They observe their own cognitive patterns from the outside, constantly rearranging them and questioning their motives. This creates an intense self-awareness, but it also renders them vulnerable to self-doubt. When you view your own flaws in high definition, it becomes difficult to be kind to yourself. They don't just ask, "What do I want?" They ask, "Why do I want it? Where does this desire originate? What are the consequences of achieving it or failing to?" They analyze ambition, love, and fear until these abstract concepts feel almost tangible. In the process, they occasionally lose the ability to simply be. They forget that not everything in existence requires a logical breakdown. Some things are simply meant to be felt. You will often see them walking alone with headphones on, not out of loneliness, but because solitude is their native language. They require that space to untangle the thoughts that others don't even know exist. They are individuals who can experience profound emotional depth while maintaining a calm exterior, their feelings moving like quiet, powerful tides beneath the surface. This can make them appear detached, but in reality, they are simply trying to view the world from every possible angle. They are prone to existential thinking, moving beyond the personal to wonder about time, morality, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. While overthinking is often just a synonym for anxiety about the future, deep thinking is a form of inquiry into the nature of existence. It is the crucial distinction between worry and awareness. The paradox, however, remains. The same mind capable of seeing patterns in everything is also capable of creating illusions. Because they can connect any 2 points, they sometimes fall into the trap of reading meaning into silence where there is none, or turning simple interactions into unsolvable puzzles. It is like looking at life through a microscope that is far too powerful. They see details that were never meant to be scrutinized so closely. Despite this, it is precisely this depth that fuels history's greatest visionaries. Figures like Einstein, Da Vinci, and Jung were all deep thinkers. They saw the invisible threads connecting disparate ideas and approached problems from perspectives no one else dared to consider. When your mind never stops asking why, you eventually stumble upon answers that the rest of the world misses. Yet, modern society does not always celebrate this. We live in a culture that rewards speed, productivity, and absolute certainty. Reflecting is viewed as hesitation. Silence is misinterpreted as weakness. Complexity is dismissed as confusion. Consequently, deep thinkers often learn to mask their true nature, nodding politely in conversations while their minds drift through galaxies. It is only when the crowd departs that their true internal dialogue can finally begin. There is an inherent loneliness to this. Deep thinkers crave genuine connection, but true intimacy requires a vulnerability that not everyone is prepared for. They stay guarded, observing quietly until they encounter someone else who shows signs of the same depth. Only then do they open the door, and when they do, it is completely. They do not deal in halfway measures. However, even this vulnerability can backfire. Because they see the world in intricate shades of grey, they expect others to possess that same capacity. They assume honesty is the baseline. When reality fails to align with those high expectations, the pain is sharper, not because they are fragile, but because they have invested so much of their soul into the connection. To a deep thinker, a small betrayal feels cosmic, and a brief act of kindness can restore their entire faith in humanity. Everything matters to them, which is the ultimate double-edged sword. Every thought is alive, and every emotion echoes. They cannot simply numb themselves, even when they wish to. They absorb the way a stranger avoids eye contact, or how laughter fades into an uncomfortable silence. They don't just see the world as it is, they see the ghost of what it could have been. This is driven by depth processing, a psychological tendency to encode experiences with rich emotional associations. They don't just recall facts, they recall how a moment felt and what it symbolized. This is why nostalgia hits them with such physical force, and why they can hear a song and be transported back to a version of themselves that no longer exists. Ultimately, these individuals are bridges. They connect logic with empathy and intellect with intuition. They are capable of analyzing pain while maintaining the capacity for compassion. They are the ones who recognize that people are not merely good or bad, but complex stories shaped by invisible battles. They may struggle to be present, and they may find the world overwhelming, but they offer something invaluable. They teach us that to think deeply is not a weakness, but a profound act of love for the truth. In a world that often demands we skim the surface, the deep thinker reminds us that there is a quiet, sacred beauty waiting for those There is a particular kind of person who struggles to find their footing amidst the relentless noise of our modern world. They are the quiet observers, those who speak sparingly, preferring to listen and watch. They study the way light dances across a room, or contemplate the relentless passage of time, sensing how everything in existence is in a state of constant flux. When asked a question, they hesitate, not out of confusion, but because they are simultaneously weighing a dozen different perspectives. These are the deep thinkers. These individuals often spend more time navigating the vast interior landscape of their own minds than engaging in superficial conversation. To them, a fleeting moment can unfold into a universe of meaning. However, if you have ever been one of them, you know it is no easy path. Being a deep thinker is not merely about raw intelligence, it is about a profound, heightened sensitivity to the texture of life. It is about perceiving the hidden layers that most people walk past without a second thought. This trait is both a profound gift and a heavy burden. To truly understand a deep thinker, one must appreciate the constant tension between their rich inner world and the demands of the outer one. While many assume that thinking too much leads only to confusion, for the deep thinker, thought is akin to breathing. It is the essential process by which they navigate existence. They do not simply see a tree. They perceive the intricate network of roots, drawing life from the soil, the way it leans instinctively toward the sun, and the ways its life cycle mirrors their own in silent, unseen patterns. They find metaphors everywhere. A conversation transforms into an exploration of human emotion. A moment of silence becomes a searching question. A fleeting glance becomes an entire story. In psychological terms, these individuals possess what researchers call high-trait introspection, a consistent tendency to analyze not just the world around them, but the internal reactions occurring within. They are perpetually scanning for meaning, asking why, not to be difficult, but because uncovering the truth feels as essential to them as oxygen. This is closely linked to the default mode network in the brain, the same region that flares to life during bursts of creativity, imagination, and deep reflection. Consequently, the mind of a deep thinker is a storm of connections, constantly weaving, comparing, and re-evaluating. This gift, however, can be isolating. While others move through life reacting to external stimuli, deep thinkers are observing from a distance. They pause to appreciate the details, but often, by the time they are ready to contribute, the conversation has already shifted. Thus, they remain silent, and that silence is frequently misconstrued as disinterest. In reality, it is depth. They do not crave small talk. They crave connection that dives beneath the surface into the architecture of the human heart, exploring fears, dreams, and the complexities of the soul. This depth inevitably carries a price. It often leads to overthinking. They replay past events, dissect every sentence, and wonder if they revealed too much or too little. Their minds can become a loop of what-ifs, not because they are insecure, but because they recognize the nuance in everything. Every choice holds a dozen meanings. Every emotion has roots buried deep. Their brains simply won't rest until they feel they have grasped the truth. This is where metacognition, the ability to think about one's own thinking, becomes their default state. They live life from the outside in, observing their thoughts, rearranging them, and questioning their patterns. While this grants them incredible self-awareness, it also leaves them prone to self-doubt, as they view their own flaws in high-definition detail. They don't just ask, "What do I want?" They ask, "Why do I want this? Where did this desire originate? What are the consequences of achieving or failing at this?" In the process, they sometimes lose the simple joy of just being. They forget that not everything requires a diagnostic analysis. Some things are simply meant to be felt. You will often find deep thinkers walking alone with headphones, not because they are lonely, but because solitude is their native language. They need that space to breathe and untangle the thoughts others don't even know exist. They are people who feel intensely while maintaining a calm exterior, their emotions moving like quiet, powerful waves beneath a still surface. What distinguishes them from the ordinary overthinker is their penchant for existential inquiry. They do not just worry about the future, they question the nature of reality itself, time, purpose, morality, and consciousness. They are grappling with questions that offer no easy answers. This is the difference between anxiety and awareness. Yet, there is a paradox. The same mind that detects patterns in everything can sometimes invent illusions that don't exist. Their metaphorical microscope is so powerful that they start seeing things that were never meant to be analyzed so closely. Still, this depth is the bedrock of their creativity. Many of history's greatest minds, Einstein, Da Vinci, Jung, were deep thinkers who saw the invisible threads connecting seemingly disparate ideas. In a modern society that rewards speed, productivity, and absolute certainty, deep thinking is often misunderstood. Pausing to reflect is dismissed as hesitation. Silence is mistaken for weakness. Complexity is labeled as confusion. Consequently, many deep thinkers learn to mask their true nature to fit into a world that moves faster than they do. They nod along in conversations they don't engage with, smiling politely while their minds wander across galaxies. When the world goes quiet, that is when their real lives begin. There is a loneliness to this, as they crave genuine connection, but know that such depth requires a vulnerability that not everyone is willing to offer. They stay guarded, selective, waiting for someone else to reveal signs of their own depth. When they finally open the door, it is never halfway, it is all the way. They will share their deepest fears and hopes because they are incapable of offering a half-hearted connection. When they see the world in shades of grey, they expect others to do the same, and it hurts when reality falls short. Yet, even a small act of kindness can restore their faith in humanity. For the deep thinker, everything is significant. Their memories are not just facts, they are entire ecosystems of feeling. This is why nostalgia hits them so hard they can listen to a song and be instantly transported to a version of themselves that no longer exists. Ultimately, the deep thinker's journey is one of learning to balance this intense internal life. They must learn that not every thought needs to be dissected, and that not every question requires an answer. True peace is found not in solving the mystery of life, but in the presence, the ability to sit beneath a vast, unexplained sky and feel complete. They learn that depth is not about drowning in one's own thoughts, but about seeing clearly enough to finally float. In a shallow world, that kind of depth is a rare and necessary light.